I am the ranch hand Shawn Carlson, and you're listening to Drinking at Moe's.
This is Drinking at Moe's, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinking at Moe's, where we don't quit. Drinking at Moe's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, always a scream.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinking and Moe's be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're filling out your order, use the code Drinking at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking
Like
go.
this for the camera or for this?
That way. Yep, we're good. All right. So, welcome everybody. Drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment if you will, because it helps with that pain in the ass YouTube algorithm. Wow, when I start talking too fast, I get a little tongue-tied. But audio platforms, don't forget those two. Today, I'm excited to have with me the ranch hand Carlson. How you doing?
Man, I'm awesome. Thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Can we flip it? There we go.
All right.
Yeah, we're good there. But yeah, no, it's exciting to have you on. I love getting to, put some attention on people outside of their general area because, not everybody can, watch nearly as much wrestling as some of us do. So you get some eyes on some people, especially for those promotions out there that, they'll have a YouTube page or maybe they're on IWTV, but, maybe the people don't really have that much attention on it.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's so much wrestling, and that's a great thing. You know what I mean? Good tides raise all ships. And it's just crazy the amount of good wrestling out there. It used to be, there was a lot of bad wrestling. Now there's so much good wrestling, and I love to see that.
Oh yeah, same here. I know here in the Midwest, between, well, really Lincoln, Nebraska, and Des Moines, Iowa, there's a ton just in that little space. I know Sammy Callahan's promotion Revolver ends up going to Des Moines every so often. Don't know if I'm going to be able to make this next one, but man, it's like a dang party. But then you have promotions like that all over the country.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And like I said, there's so many good opportunities for pro wrestling right now, whether it's on the indies, whether it's, these companies that are not maybe the big one, but they're the top, five. There's three of them that are just, really good to get with. And then there's, of course, number two, and then there's number one. So the fact that we have all those options is great. And I think even from a fan's perspective, right? Like you could get tired of one company and you can just flip the channel to another one. So I think that's pretty cool, man.
Oh, yeah.
We have the one company I work for, we have a local TV deal, and the local TV deal does great. Like it's hitting some high numbers, and it's insane the amount of people that watch it on TV. It's like, wow. We're not one of the top five, but because we're on our local TV program, people still tune in to watch, and that's pretty cool just in general.
Oh, most definitely. And well, before we get going too far into things, first thing I'd like to ask everybody, what got you started as a fan? And then what got you deciding to make that leap into the business? We get, or did you pause? Okay, it looks like you cut out there for a second. All right,
Yeah,
everybody. Technical difficulties, but we're back.
so I got lucky. I started watching, in the Monday Night Wars, which was
Mm.
super cool. You know what I mean? Favorite wrestler, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh
Uh,
God, yeah, I'm right
yeah,
with you.
yeah, yeah. So that's what kind of got me into it, and I got pretty lucky. A friend of mine knew a indie wrestler who was starting to train people, and I went and trained with him one day, and I quit because it was so crappy. I hate to say it like that, but it was really crappy. And I actually had somebody who was in a top promotion that was at that show while I was getting trained, literally stop us from training and was like, "Listen, kid, go find a reputable school, get out of this, go away." And long story short, that led me to where I am today. A different path than a lot of people. So I started out as a podcaster in the early 20, tens. I want to say 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. And then I had an interview with a guy who was starting a promotion, and he asked me to come on board with him. And I was very secure financially, so I did. So then I became a promoter. Uh, then I started training, and I became a manager, and then, long story short, I trained more and became a wrestler. And now I don't own. I own a very small chunk of a promotion, and I barely hold it. I hold the ownership of the small part just as a like, hey, if something happens, I can buy out the other guys, but I stay away from it as much as I can. Um, and I'm a full wrestler, so it's crazy. I tell everybody I'm Benjamin Button of wrestling. You usually start out, you want to be a wrestler, and then you get too old, you become a manager, and then you become a promoter, and then you become a podcaster, and it's like, nah, I Benjamin Button that thing. I went exactly opposite. So
Kind of actually sounds similar to me with getting into commentary. I have a friend that's wanting to do quarterly shows, but make a promotion out of it, and for like charity purposes, like I know we calling it Fight Against Suicide Wrestling, and he was like, "Dude, I want you to be on commentary." I'm like, "Okay." And then he tells me the main one of the people in the main event for the first show was Cheeseburger. So I was like, okay, I'm in. Even
yeah,
more
she's
now. And then, you know, there's been some stuff, some behind the scenes stuff that if you weren't a part of the show, you probably wouldn't have known happened. So I offered to, hey, if you need somebody to be that part, I can do it. I can help. We can have a little committee. So looks like I'm going to be helping piecing together matches and stuff too. So it
that's
was
awesome.
just kind
Cheese
of like, holy shit.
Cheese is such a great dude, man. He has been one I can actually lean on for stuff, and Cheese is such a great person just in general. And he is a true inspiration to pull independent wrestling and how not only the ones under them, but the ones that are around them. And train under Cheeseburger, but he treats me just as if I was one of his students when I ask for advice. So I always appreciate Cheeseburger very much.
Oh yeah. And I'm in contact with him about getting him on the podcast. So we'll see, as has happened before. I've had some people I've had on that I was, trying to nail it down for a little over a year. Finally got it done. Like John Wayne Murdoch, I took me a little over a year, but
Great dude.
there was some personal stuff going. But yeah, that's a whole nother story in and of itself. But I've had so much fun. I know we're getting ready for a show the day before Veterans Day. So I was like, well, shit, I ain't got to worry about staying a little late because I don't got I don't got to go to work the next day. So
Yeah, free day off, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Benefit of working the job that I do. So, all right, I know everybody when it comes to their in-ring personas, it's like the first little bit can be a bit of a feeling out process, and you've kind of gone through, like you mentioned, going podcasting, then coming in and booker, then manager, and you've had a whole sort of renaissance man sort of thing going here. How did you come up with your in-ring persona? Because that first little bit, obviously, bit of a feeling out process, what's going to work and all that.
Yeah, 100%, right? So, I always take myself and the image that I feel that people look at me as, and I crank that up to 10. When I was a manager, my whole gimmick was I was Money Mark Carlson because everybody assumed I was just a money mark, that I didn't train for anything, that I didn't do anything, that I just put money into a promotion. So now I'm going to be a manager. So, hey, if that's how you all are going to feel about me, then that's what I'm going to be. And I'm going to crank it up to 10. And I'm going to be the most annoying piece of crap you can possibly imagine, right? During COVID, I planned on not bringing that character back because I was training to be a wrestler, shortly after COVID. So, once I came back from COVID, I kept it for a little bit, but I quickly transferred to ranch hand after that because the school we have, which I'm actually in right now, if you can see, the wrestling school we have is actually in a barn. And I pride myself on being head of the barn. I pride myself on being the guy that leads the students, the cowbell, if you will, that keeps these students going, that keeps pushing them harder and harder, and wants to be the leader. And I'm the head. I say it all the time in class. I don't say it as a public thing, like as a like thing to Roman Reigns, but I'm the head of the barn. I try to lead by example and push these guys, and so that's what my persona is. That these kids are my cattle, and I'm the ranch hand, and I've got to push them, and I've got to make sure that they're on the right track because there's so many places in wrestling, right, that I
Mm-hmm.
feel they don't look out for their students. They train them and then they say, go find your own way. And that's a good, I don't tell anybody else how to train people. I get it. But me personally, I'm big on this business is very cutthroat and very hard. So why would you want to put your kids, because I treat my students as if they were kids, why would you want to put your kids in such a hard, difficult position to start out with? So I try to ease them into the wrestling business the best way I can and, get them opportunities if I can. And that's kind of, the best way I can feel about going about it. I don't feel you wouldn't put your, kid in a car for the first time and say, go drive. You get a learner's permit, you ride with them, you teach them. And that's kind of how I do with wrestling. And we have a great school here. Mark Harrow is our head trainer, and we have a great school and a great process with that. And I'm really proud of that more than anything.
I love seeing, when people actually get brought in like what you're doing because, yeah, you do hear a lot of stories out there about, you know, oh, you're done with training here. Here you go. So it's nice, you've got somebody that you can, kind of lean on a little bit, kind of ease your way in instead of just throwing your ass in the deep end and hoping you can swim.
Yeah, there's a prominent school in Philadelphia that trains guys. They have them fully trained in 6 weeks, which I don't get that part, but that's not here nor there. They fully train them, and then they say good luck. They give them no connections or anything. And the one kid, he showed up at a show and he was telling us like that's their process, and I was like, and my students are all looking at me like, Jesus, that's terrible. And I'm like, that's the independence, man. That's where we are. It's feast or famine. It's why am I going to let you try to go to a place where you could take my spot eventually? And I'm very secure with myself, man. Like I tell everybody asks, you have a 5-year plan. My 5-year plan doesn't involve wrestling as much as it involves my personal life with my wife and my kids, and my future. If wrestling's there, amazing. I love professional wrestling. I will continue to do this until the day I don't get booked anymore. But I'm not so worried about my spot that somebody can take it that I'm gonna put other people down. That makes no
Yeah.
sense to me. You know what
Oh,
I mean? It really doesn't. And I
oh
see it
yeah.
so much, and it irritates me.
Oh yeah. I've seen it before myself, and much like you, my 5-year plan, yeah, I'd like to, be involved with, the fight against suicide wrestling as long as they'll have me. I'd love to, get myself out there to do commentary at other promotions. But my wife and I are expecting our a son here coming up, December, January. So it's like I want to be the best father I can for him. So that's probably going to be like above wrestling, obviously. But, I won't lie that it would be kind of cool to, one day be able to take my son to a show and be like, hey, that stuff we watch on TV? Here we get it. We get to do it. So
Yeah.
it'd be
Yeah, that's
it'd be
pretty
fun.
dope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
100%. And congratulations. We
oh
have a little boy due in November, so
oh nice. You know what? It's funny because you know you, me, and my wife, and then one of my real good friends is also due. Like we're all like right around the same time frame. It's pretty cool.
that's crazy.
I actually had, and you know what? I like, especially with people that are getting ready for kids. I like to bring up this because I got the inspiration from thinking about Bray Wyatt. And some might think, man, he was kind of a spooky character. Why would, well, especially that last run, there was just something that spoke to me there. And I saw a plush toy of like a cartoonish looking version of that, of Bray Wyatt in that run. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to get that. And then I'm going to, once he's born, I'm going to take a picture of him with it and say something like, welcome to the world, little Firefly. And then tag, JoJo and Bo and all them in there. Let them know people are still thinking of them.
Yeah, that sounds great, man.
So, all right, now that I've gone on a little bit of a tangent, some of the promotions that you're involved with, there was one that it looked like they have a presence on YouTube. And I like on this show, I like learning about places that I might not have been familiar with, before. And I believe it's one CW. Am I
Yep.
making sure I'm not
Yeah,
completely
yeah.
butchering it up?
Nope, 100%. It's WW Pro Wrestling, yes, sir. And yeah, so long story short, they're the ones I was talking about earlier with the local TV deal.
Mm,
And we just got they just renewed it. So they couldn't be on YouTube for a while just because of conflicted laws and stuff,
yeah.
whatever. But the new contract allows us now to put our episodes on YouTube. And I really like the whole TV setup because it makes you feel like you're watching a show instead of just here's a match and here's a little backstory. And I just, if I'm cruising on YouTube and I'm looking for something to watch for 20, 30 minutes, I'm going to watch that rather than just trying to watch one show or one match. And that's just me,
Yeah.
personally. And everybody's different. So I never tell anybody how to adjust anything, but that's just what I like.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, 1CW is my baby, I guess I could say. We have a big show coming up this weekend where I'm begging for a shot at the 1CW championship no matter what. So we'll see what happens.
I was gonna say I saw the poster for the show, and I gotta say that is one impressive looking title belt there.
Yeah, yeah, Big Blue is a beautiful belt. We do have great belts. I will say that. We have the 1CW championship. It's Big Blue. We call it because it's on a blue strap. We have the DSN title. That's a silver plate with a red strap. Beautiful. We have the Bulletproof title. It's a white strap, gold plates. Our women's title is the biggest title I've ever seen. Long story short, I just find this hilarious. So I have to tell the story. They ordered
I
it
love it.
online, and yeah, they ordered it online. And when they ordered it, it came in not to specs. It came in like 4 times the specs, and we've requested it to be fixed. They have not fixed it. They just never asked, and so we just have this big, bulky women's title, and I just find it hilarious because it's the biggest championship I've ever seen.
I was gonna say there are a couple promotions where I've seen like humongous titles. I know what was it, New South? They have one that's pretty massive. So I always kind of get a kick out of it. And I believe they had kind of a similar thing where when they were getting the title, it wasn't meant to be as big, but then they got it and they're like, oh, well, here we go.
Yeah, in place if I'm knowing correctly. And I think they just made a bad batch, if that makes sense. And instead of refunding the people, they just sold them how it is. And it is what it is. I think it's hilarious.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
the biggest title I've ever seen is the women's championship because so many times little petite titles for the women, and it's like, nope, ours is this big bulky monster.
I love it. I love it. And, people talk about, wanting to highlight the women's wrestling more. And I'm like, well, what better way than to have some big, humongous title belt there? I
Yeah,
love it.
so I love the fact that we're highlighting women's wrestling. I think sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle. I always say women's wrestling deserves to be on a top pedestal. It does because there are a lot of talented female professional wrestlers.
Oh,
I
that
think
there
sometimes
is.
we get lost in the shuffle when we ask for, and I hate to say it like this, so please don't, if somebody takes offense to it, I'm willing to talk via message or whatever. But I feel like it gets lost in the shuffle if there's an all women's promotion because now you're just selling to a niche audience, right? And I feel like it's better if you have the main audience that you want and you're selling everything. But here are these women standing out on a mini show and they're killing it and they're kicking ass and they're putting on top quality matches just like the guys.
Hmm.
And whether it's 2 matches, 3 matches, 4 matches, whatever they're doing, they're putting that on just as good as the guys.
Yeah.
Um, I believe as long as the good story is told, intergender wrestling's fine. I think sometimes we get lost in what a story is for intergender wrestling, but that's not
Yeah.
here nor there. But I think that's something that we should look at and kind of move forward with. I want to see good women's wrestling on top. That's what I want to see, and
Oh,
I think it gets a little difficult.
no, I can imagine. I know, and no, I know everybody's busy, but yeah, there's sometimes where like I want to highlight more women's wrestling on the podcast. It just seems that by the time I hear back from some, when I like have a batch of messages, it's like, ah, shit, I already like. It always amazes me when my schedule just fills up out of nowhere. Like,
That's not a
for
bad thing, though.
oh, not a bad thing at all. It's just, it always makes me laugh because I remember when I posted about scheduling for September, like literally the same night, boom, filled up.
That's awesome.
I'm like, holy shit. But yeah, I'd love to. And then, when you said about, all women's cards, like there is nothing wrong with those promotions, but I do see where you're coming from
No, not at
because,
all. There's nothing wrong with them. I just feel like sometimes, uh, like for example, Missy Sampson runs Bell to Bell, and she is doing a killing job, doing an amazing job, and I hold nothing against her. I was one of the ones that were trying to. I think sometimes all I'm saying, the niche audience is just the only one showing up because it becomes that niche. And
yeah.
sometimes you don't feel like you're in the club, so you don't show up to it. And I think that's where it gets lost. And I'm not saying it happens at any certain promotions. I'm saying from what I've seen personally,
Oh,
this
no.
is what happens. And sometimes I feel like there are too many creeps too many creep fans in wrestling that get involved with being that niche, and they drive people off. And not only do they drive people off, they drive women away from working the shows, and we're back in the same positions we were. And that's the disturbing part.
Oh, yeah. I can agree. And, I kind of liken it a lot to, you know, other forms of wrestling that there's a promotion that'll just have that type of match, like death match promotions. When it's just strictly that every match, you run into kind of the same issue. But if you're
Yeah,
like
100%.
sprinkling it in throughout the show and you're having everything else, like I think Paul Heyman talked about it with ECW, yeah, they had the violent stuff, but then they also had the technical stuff, and then you bring in lucha libre and all that. That way it's kind of a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah, when you're running the show like that, in my opinion, you should have more of a buffet style, not more of a this is what we're feeding you and that's what you're going to eat style. And that's what I mean by that. And I don't mean it just with women's wrestling. I mean it with deathmatch wrestling. I mean it with technical wrestling. I mean it with all wrestling.
Oh
If
yeah.
you are going to force feed people stuff, they're going to stop eating. And I think
Hmm.
buffets are the best way to do it, to bring in different styles. I was just talking
I
about this with a young guy today. He was talking about, he was upset because he didn't make the PWI 500 that came out today, and he felt like this was his best year and he didn't make it. All these other guys that he's wrestled and everything else has made it. And I said, listen, man, I totally get it. I totally understand why you're upset, but you are playing to a certain audience, and if you are not their type, if you're not their style, they're not going to rank you. You might be an amazing professional wrestler, but you're not their style, so you're not going to make it. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You hope that the
Mhm.
next year somebody's on the board that likes your style, that likes your flavor of ice cream, and eats you up and gets you in there. But that's just the way the ball bounces in professional wrestling. We are a performing art, whether we like to think of it that or not. I know I cringe when I even say that, but we are, and every person's different. What you like isn't the same thing I like. What I like isn't the same thing. John Doe likes. What they like isn't the same thing the next person likes. Everybody's
Mhm.
different. But when
Oh
you
yeah.
can get a consensus around something, that's when you start making magic.
Oh yeah. And one thing I was noticing with other, well, going into some other promotions that you have promoted on your Facebook, you know, I've been noticing a lot of NWA stuff. And what I'm
Yeah,
loving about them is, despite some of the controversies they've had, they are really picking it up with, kind of the way it was back in the territory day, like different affiliates all throughout the country, and how that's starting to really pick up steam. And the people that hold the national titles are, they'll come in every so often, and you know, getting to have places have that shine, because while the NWA isn't what it was, back, you know, before stuff turned into WCW and whatnot, it's like still when you hear on a poster that an NWA champion is coming for that show, that's still a pretty big deal. And
yeah, 100%. And yes, I got blessed to wrestle at the 76th anniversary event at the 2300 Arena just a couple weeks ago, and that was super amazing. I personally love the NWA. I've been a fan of them ever since they came back. I feel that if there's any top promotion that matches my style, it is the NWA. A hard hitting, no nonsense, straight laced, stern face, as my boy Rudy would say. No nonsense type wrestling. And I feel like that's what I can bring to the table, and I feel like that's some place I can succeed. And I was blessed enough to work there at the 2300 Arena. I'm also working for them in New York in 2 weeks on September 28th up in New York. So yeah, I love what they're doing. I love what Billy Corgan's doing. Some of the things that happened that day that I can't talk about are exactly what I feel is wrong with professional wrestling. They're telling us, hey, you can't do that. And I'm like, dude, I'm not. I love that you just told us not to do that, because that's a problem I have with professional wrestling. So the fact that they're doing that, I'm like, man, this is where I belong. I told 4 or 5 different people that they got me the opportunity and stuff. If it was them or if it was somebody that I'm friends with that's there, I was like, I belong here. This is my flavor. This is my ice cream. Dip me in it. Put chunks, caramel, nuts, everything on. This is me. So I've been very blessed with that, and hopefully I continue to go there and they like what they see. We'll see. But it's a promotion that I really absolutely love, and I want to see success. And as I said earlier, rising tides raises all ships. You know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
WWE is on top, and they have been great. And I think that's a trickle down effect. You know, Despite what numbers say, despite what everything says, I believe all wrestling's doing better. I think if you start, selling to a niche crowd like we were talking earlier, your percentage is going down. But in all reality, the NWA sold out the 2300 Arena, and not only did they sell it out, but they did the most ticket sales of any wrestling promotion that's been there in a long time. And I don't mean comps, I don't mean any of that. I mean hard ticket sales. It's proven facts from the venue that the NWA did that. And think about all the companies that have run there since, and NWA did that. So I'm super proud of the NWA. I'm super proud to have those three initials by my name. When I first, got into wrestling, I really dove into the old school stuff, and I really have been an NWA fan for a long time. So to be able to work there, to be able to go out of the 2300 arena, just everything that happened that day was so surreal and just just such a blessing in disguise. You know what I mean? It's been a really cool time. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate Brian Idol for getting me on there and letting me go out there and do what I do best.
Oh yeah, that is awesome. I much like you, I'm old school fan. Like I remember, yeah, Stone Cold is one of my favorites, but like one of the first guys I remember really making an impression on me was, and it's funny, when I was younger, he scared the crap out of me, but now I just love him. Too bad he's since passed, but Bruiser Brody, I just he was that like swinging around the chains and stuff, running through the crowd, scaring people. Like, yeah, when I was a little kid, he scared the crap out of me, but now I watch his stuff and I'm like, oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, and I think I think impressions are something we kind of forget. I was talking to a guy recently, and Roddy Piper's story came into my head that Roddy Piper one time didn't sign an autograph for a kid. He yelled at him and said he wouldn't sign an autograph for him. And the reason being is because he said that'll leave a longer impression. And as performers, we have to leave impressions on people. That's what's going to get us over or not. As a baby face, yes, I do give the cards to kids and this, that, and the other, and take all the pictures. But as a heel, I don't do that. Instead, I yell at the people and everything because why we have to impression them one way or the other. And I'm sorry, but I think that gets lost in a lot of professional wrestling that, oh, I'm the bad guy, but I want everybody to love me. It's no, if you're the bad guy, make these people hate you so bad when they get in their car to go home, they go, hey, that's son of a ranch hand. Man, I hope he's in a car accident on the way home. Make them wish bad things on me because
Oh
that's
yeah,
my job. I don't
yeah.
want to go out there and they come up to me later and go, oh, I love your heel work, brother. Shut up.
Oh yeah, no, your job as a heel is to literally, like, next time that you come to that particular show, you want to have people wanting to pay their money just to see you get your ass kicked.
At Fight Club, I am a heel, and it's on IWTV if you guys want to check it out there. But at Fight Club, I've been a heel there for a long time, and it's always funny to me that people are like, "Oh, I can't believe you're such a heel there," and it's like that's because I hate their guts and I want them to hate me. You know what I mean? And I go out there with that impression every single time. So I think that gets lost in amongst a lot of things.
That it does. I know. It's always funny to me though because I've seen it happen where, like, and my dog decides to join me, but I've seen it happen where, like, some of the guys that, like, in front of the camera when the lights are on and they're out there, they play one sadistic son of a bitch, but then you talk to them, like, outside of the show and, like, some of the nicest people ever. Like, I've seen it happen with, like, Swerve is the one that comes right to mind. Like, we've all seen what stick shit he can come up with there with, like, his most recent run with AEW. But then, like, hell, the time that I got to meet him, one of the nicest dudes ever.
Yeah, he's a great dude. He's one that I'm happy that he got ranked number 2 in the world. I'm super happy for him, and he's a tremendous professional wrestler. And yeah, he's a great guy outside of it. But I love how if he's a heel, he sticks to being that. And I wish more people did. I really do. You see it a lot on some national programs where it's the bad guys aren't really bad guys, the good guys aren't really good guys. It's very back and forth, but that's life at the end of the day, right?
Oh yeah, that's the way it is. And there was one other. I should make sure my dog isn't making a mess here. But there was one other show that I'm thinking it's coming up later this month, but it was for FTW Wrestling Fight the World, and
I'm not a. I love them guys. I'm not a part of that. That's Brian Idol's company. I was sharing that to support I do share a lot of companies like that to
Oh,
support. Brian
same.
Idol is a good friend of mine, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I said,
No,
he's a
I
great
I get you
person.
there. I get you
Um,
there because I do the same. I'm
yeah,
like any people that I've had on that are promoters. I'm like, if you want to tag my show and whatever, promote your show by all means. I'm all
yeah,
for that.
yeah. My next schedules are NWA. Well, it's one CW next, NWA, and then because we have the baby coming out, I've kind of taken on a lighter schedule this fall, which isn't a bad thing. I need to rest up my body some too. But I've got the Wrestling Independent. They're a great company out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania that'll be coming up in the end of November. And I have a couple shows with WDWA out of West Virginia. They're another great hardworking company that is kind of going through a rebuild phase,
Mm.
and it's such a great locker room. The Wrestling Independent, same way. It's such a great locker room. I love that I'm a part of so many cool locker rooms. Not saying I've ever been a part of bad ones because I had. There are locker rooms where just people don't get along. There's not the love. There's not the camaraderie. The shows I'm doing for the rest of the year have love, have camaraderie. I'm so happy to be a part of them. I think that's a big thing for me. Now I have a daughter that's almost 4. I have a son on the way, and it's like, why do I want to spend my Saturdays away from them where I'm miserable, where there's people that are there miserable? I want to go have fun. If I'm going to take time away from my family, it needs to be for fun. It needs to be exciting. It needs to be a great time. And I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like that's what I'm going to do going forward. And I love the companies that I work for. And there's other ones that I can't do anymore this year, but I look forward to doing them again next year, like EWA Pro Wrestling in Maryland. Pay Your Dues Pro Wrestling is about to come back, I believe. So I'm really excited about that. I love that company. So there's a lot of good coming up,
Yeah.
and I hope I'm a part of it.
Oh yeah. No, I can totally understand because that's kind of the way I'm gonna be when my son arrives. Is if I'm for that first little bit before I feel comfortable taking him to shows. If I'm going to be spending time away from him, I want to be able to be having fun while I'm there. And the reason I brought up the poster that you shared with Danhausen is I actually got to meet him a couple months ago, and I got one of his figures signed by him. It was
Oh, that's awesome.
it was something pretty cool, and I got to show him a picture of my whole setup back here, and he's like, "That's nice." I'm like, "That
That's
coming
awesome.
from you, that means a lot because I've seen some of their setups, and like I feel like mine in comparison is kind of puny." But to have him say that, I'm like, okay, I'm cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. I love that. I love that for you.
All right. Now I have two categories. One's a bit of a name game, and I name off some people. You give me some quick thoughts on them. And
Okay.
I try to theme it towards the guest as much as possible. And with each of these people, at one point or another, they had, kind of a ranch hand esque gimmick.
Okay.
First one that I actually have a figure signed by him back here too, but man, he has shown some intensity lately. Hangman Adam Page.
So a good friend of mine, BT Windsor, shout out, no free shout out because he's gonna hate this if he does watch it. Looks like him, and he dislikes him because he's a big Cornette guy. I don't. So Ring of Honor, I loved Adam Page. I thought his work was great as the young boy that had to earn his way up. To be honest with you, I don't watch the show he's on too much, but from what I see, he's gone through a big renaissance of who he is, and I think that's always good to continue to evolve your character and continue to push it. I'm not a fan of drinking another man's blood, so
Yeah,
that
that
kind of lost it for me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
yeah,
But I think anybody who continues to work on themselves and grow and continue to change their character and move it to a more powerful way is always a plus in my book.
oh yeah, that spot with the blood, yeah, that kind of. I'm still a fan, but that right there, I was like, hello. Wow, I knew this was
Yeah,
going to be intense, but holy shit.
yeah, that's something different.
Yeah. All right. Next guy, he's had the gambit, but, and, I know some people aren't too fond of him, but he was at one point part of the APA, but we're talking about JBL.
So I love JBL, and I get it, political, all that crap. Kick all that out. JBL carried SmackDown in the 2000s, late
Mm-hmm.
2000s era. He carried that. JBL is great heel, smart businessman. Love what he's doing on the Indies right now. I can't wait for him versus Effie at GCW. That's a clash style that's going to be crazy. Whatever he's going to do on TNA, whatever he's doing with Nick Nemeth, I'm in for it. I love JBL.
Oh yeah,
I
when I
think
saw him pop
everything
up
he's
there.
done has been good.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
crazy, right?
yeah. I
Um,
I saw the
I think
highlight
he's
video
very
and I'm like, what the fuck? Oh damn.
yeah. I think JBL gets very underrated. I put him in a category with Jeff Jarrett, where
Mm.
I feel they're great wrestlers and they're smart businessmen and they do so much for the wrestling business, but because of who they were at one point, people just always seen him as that. You
Mm.
always seen him as the drunken APA beat up guy. You could never take him serious as the world champion, where people just didn't get they evolved. You know what I mean? And Jeff Jarrett, same way. You always seen him as the IC champion with the guitar. You could never see him as the top guy in TNA. Or at least people I've hung out with that talk wrestling have said that. And I really get upset with that because you gotta understand people evolve, and these guys are two gems that have been really great for professional wrestling. And so I love JBL.
Oh yeah. Now I've actually got to meet this next guy a handful of times, and even got to joke with him a bunch. And the group he was in has since, I guess, split up. But I've always said, if you want to know crazy matches, all you got to do is say three letters. And for a while, he was a part of it, part of the second gear crew, Manders.
Yeah, love Manders. Shout out number 116 in the PW 500 this year. Manders is great. I got to meet him at a show. He didn't work it, but he was there watching, and I was just on the show. And I came up and introduced myself, talked to him for a little bit, and he said he really liked my punches. So I took that to heart. I love that. Great dude. Just got a shot in Japan, so I'm just super happy for him. I like seeing good people succeed, and he's always been a good person to me. So
Oh
Manders
yeah.
is a guy who I think is right on the cusp of going somewhere really cool.
Oh yeah. I am right there with you. I know I have not had one unpleasant experience with an interaction with him. I know um, once I actually got to tell him in person that him and the second gear crew, their matches might as well have been sponsored by Home Depot because of all the shit they got.
That's
And
funny.
they all loved it. And I got to tell him another time because my favorite college football team is a big rival with the one that he used to play on. And I one time said, you and I've never had a bad interaction. So who's saying a Hawkeye and a Husker couldn't get along? And we both just laughed.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, I love the dude. All right, next up, a guy that you know was part of an unfortunate couple of days. What was it, like last year or the year before? But literally, it was kind of sad that his passing got somewhat overshadowed by somebody that passed the very next day in Bray Wyatt. But this guy, the living legend, Terry Funk.
So love Terry Funk. Terry Funk is so universal. He was a guy, he could put on the best wrestling matches. He could put on a death match. He could tell you a story in a death match. Find that today in the death match community, it's very hard. He could tell stories in death matches. He is such a legend. So I started carrying a branding iron because he used to carry the branding iron. So I just started doing that recently because I'm such a huge fan of Terry Funk's work. He's been a huge inspiration to me. So I wear a singlet, or I wear basically a bodysuit singlet as my gear, and it's only like shorts and a shirt, romper, whatever you want to call it. And somebody commented and was like, Terry Funk ain't wearing no swimsuit. And I said, like Terry Funk, I'm gonna shove this branding iron up your ass. Because that's some shit he would do if you talk shit about him. And
Oh
I
yeah.
love Terry. I love Terry Funk so much. I always, go back and watch his matches when I need some inspiration or, need to realize that I'm doing something right. I go back and watch his stuff. Big Terry Funk fan here.
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of him myself. And before we move on to my last category here, I was just reminding myself of this, that there was a video I saw on your Facebook that I'm the typical white guy with absolutely no fucking rhythm. But you and some guy dressed up like a Power Ranger doing the Cupid shuffle. I'm like, I wish that I could even partially look like I could do all that. Like, you hear that song come up at weddings, you see me sitting at my table.
Yeah, that's my boy Ty Awesome. Ty is such a great dude. I love that man to death. Ty started doing it, and people were like starting to look at him. So I was sitting right next to him selling gimmicks, so I started doing it with him. Uh, it was just one of the moments where you don't plan on doing it and you just do. And Ty is such a good friend of mine, and I cannot say enough good things about him. And yes, the gear is Power Rangers inspired. So he is the Blue Turbo Ranger. That's the gear inspired that costume. So I know he'll appreciate you just calling him a Power Ranger. I joke with him all the time that my new gear looks like it makes me feel like I'm a Power Ranger, and then me and him are going to go on a tag team spree. We're going to get helmets and everything, and just come out Mighty Morphin style. Ty's entrance music actually is a parody, not a parody, but a riff off the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song. So, uh,
Nice.
yeah, so you saying that about him, he's gonna pop for it.
Oh yeah. It
But
like when I saw the
yeah, such
video,
a great dude.
oh, awesome. When I saw the video, it jogged something in me that I'm like, okay, I have to talk about this because I've actually met one of them. A
Oh
couple
wow, okay.
a couple months before he unfortunately took his own life, I actually met Jason David Frank.
Oh okay, awesome.
And one of my
Such a good dude.
oh, totally. Yeah, like one of my signed Funko Pops up there is actually a Green Ranger one. And yeah, I have to say, totally good dude because I came, you had to pay like extra for the autograph and a picture with him. But so I only paid for the autograph. He's like, hey, come here. And we took one. He held the Funko Pop like the morphin thing. I'm like, oh, dude, this is awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, he was such a cool dude. My boy Bryson Scott out of Texas got to do a match with him and got to do some stuff with him, and was really looking forward to doing more with him before unfortunately he passed. And Jason David Frank was such a big part of my childhood, man. So uh, that one hurt. That one hurt worse than a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
But that's so cool that you got that interaction with him. I'm happy for you for that.
Oh, yeah. Like, I just remember I was watching a wrestling show with a friend of mine. He's like, hey, did you hear Jason David Frank's coming to town, the Green Ranger? You want to go? And I'm like, yeah. So
Yeah.
we went, and yeah, that was a fun time. Now, on to my next category here. Some random questions, some wrestling related, some not. Some might have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far.
Sounds good.
So, first one, craziest in match moment for you.
Craziest in match moment. So it's nothing super crazy, but I was working a last man standing with a guy, last man standing match with a guy, Devontae's, and I was supposed to do a swanton through a table, and I set him on the table, and I don't know what in me, but I went to the corner that I would usually climb up for it, and as soon as I got to the top, I looked across and I was like, She went up the wrong corner, and so I had to jump like 3 quarters across the ring to land through the table. I just did a frog splash instead. And that happened one time, and another time, similar story. I went up for my swanton, and dude had sold to the other corner for it. And so I'm standing there, and I'm looking across, like, how the hell did you get all the way over there? So I had to do like a standing, jumping, spinning splash on him because I wasn't coming down to move him. So that's the two craziest moments. I say this all the time. I try to protect my body and my longevity, so I don't try to do too much crazy stuff. I had this crazy spot came up with in my head that I didn't get to do,
Oop.
and I wanted to get handcuffed to a guardrail and take a bump off a ladder onto it as I'm handcuffed, and I couldn't. So
Ugh.
I couldn't figure out how to do it all the way, so it just didn't work out.
Yeah, sounds like that one might have been for the better.
Yeah.
Like, I have seen literally some crazy moments, like I said, involving any of the second gear crew. Like, literally, you just say those 3 letters and freaking craziness. I've heard of plenty of crazy stories, some involving some people you might expect, like New Jack, where they got warned to be careful with the arena, and then they both proceed to end up going through a wall. And Paul Heyman is yelling at them after the match. Yeah, I've heard some doozies. And I've witnessed
That's
some.
crazy.
But next one. Now, wrestling, there's a lot of traveling. There's, sometimes you end up running into people in some completely random areas. Have you ever ran into somebody like a big name, like you've seen on like TV, or maybe a big name that has come through for a show, but you met them again at like some random ass area?
I mean, I met Jerry Rice at a airport one time. Just crazy. Thinking about his, but the only kind of crazy time that anything like that happened regularly was and Katie and I were at the same truck stop, and we didn't even know it. We were heading to the same show, and I was like, "Hey," and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And something like that. But that's kind of the only crazy interaction wrestling wise. But Jerry Rice out in public was wild. See, standing there, flying, same, no first class or nothing. And he's just standing there. I'm like, "Are you Jerry Rice?" He's like, "Yeah, don't say it out loud though." And I was like, "All right, cool."
I've had one. Well, one where I got recognized in a random place, and one where I actually ran into somebody at one. I actually, through my podcast, actually got recognized at the zoo here in Omaha, which was completely freaking random. Like, it still makes me laugh thinking about it. And then I was actually at Disney World and ended up on our way out. I bent down to pick up something, tie my shoe, some shit I don't remember. But as I got back up, I see this T-Rex skull on this guy's shoulder. I look over, and it's freaking Kevin Owens, like maybe 2 feet from me.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like, I knew it was possible, but oh shit. But yeah, I knew it was possible, but then I'm like,
sorry about that.
Is it like, am I actually gonna run into, like, I would have to maybe try to see if I could get a tour of the performance center to maybe have a more likely chance of something like that.
Right. That's
all right.
funny.
Now, this next one, my wife and I actually have both, and I can hear one of them making some noise upstairs. But do you consider yourself more of a dog or a cat person?
Dog. I don't like cats. I'm not a cat guy. Not a cat guy at all.
My wife and we have 3 cats and a dog. I'm more of a dog guy myself, so I guess that's why I gravitate more towards my English bulldog. I
Yeah, my daughter wants a cat so bad, and I will not give it to her because no, nope.
the only main benefit with a cat over a dog is you don't like literally you can get one of those big feeder things, pour a shitload of cat food in there, and then you can leave for a couple days and you ain't got to worry about shit.
Yeah, you're right on that, but just not a cat guy, just
No,
dog.
hey, I'm with you there. Like I tolerate our cats. One of them seems to love the hell out of me for some damn reason, but damn, it is what it is. All right. Next up, with this question, I feel like I have to have it in here because it would, with the name of a show like I have, it would feel weird if I didn't. Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic or non, or shit, one of each.
Okay, so non-alcoholic, if we go beer, I love a Busch Light or a Coors Light, depending on the time of the year. Busch Light in the winter and the fall. Love Coors Light in the spring and the summer. I just feel it's a lighter, it's more refreshing. It's just the way I am. Um, if we're going hard liquor, I'm a Crown Royal guy through and through. The only other liquor I drink besides Crown Royal is Bullet Bourbon. And then if we're going non-alcoholic, I've been on a big Mountain Dew Zero kick.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm fasting, and it's something that as soon as my fast time hits, I just start drinking it. I just love it. It's been my new go-to drink of choice. So got to go with
Uh,
that one.
oh yeah, no, I can definitely agree with you there. Hell, I was drinking a Bush Light as you're recording here,
There you
and
go.
actually, funny enough, when I made my commentary debut, we all got entrances, and I was like, I told my friend that was running the show, "Hey, I want to do this." I was like, "Do it." I'm like, "You do not tell a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan that you're giving him an entrance at a wrestling show and expect him not to do it." So I waited for this part in the song and with the beers and like,
That's great.
oh,
Um, I'm a big Busch Light Apple guy. If they ever bring it
dude, those
back,
are delicious.
when I yes, every time they came out, I bought cases and cases of it. I had about, I want to say at one time I had 500 and some stocked up when I heard they weren't going to make it again, and that's all I could find. I bought everything I could find, and we had a party here one day last summer. Because last summer they didn't make it, and this summer they didn't make it. So last summer we had a party here, and one of my buddies was drinking, and I was like, "Are you drinking my Busch Light Apple?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Dude, that's the last of my reserve stock." Like, no, 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 no. And I looked, and a lot of people had drank them, and I was pissed. Because I keep them in a certain fridge that it's hid away, and they found it. So, I was
Mm.
really upset. I lost about 30 that day. And when I drank my
Oh,
last one, I was such a sad day for me.
the other beer I like is actually Stone Cold's Broken Skull American Lager. It is freaking delicious.
Yeah, it's a good beer. It's a good beer.
And then non-alcoholic, I'm a bit of a Dr. Pepper fiend. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, my wife too, man. My wife loves that stuff.
Though my wife gives me shit about it, and I'm like, she's like, "You got a problem?" I'm like, as long as I got some, I don't got a problem. It's figured out. But that's all right. Now, last but not least, here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Don't. I'm just kidding.
You're not the first one to say that.
No, it's go to a place, go to a school where you're respected and you're wanted. I think there's a lot of schools that have this, we don't need you, you need us type mentality, and that's fine and great if that's working for you. But as a human, I feel we should go to places where we're cherished and where we're wanted. And I tell all my students, like, when they come in, like, hey, once you're here for a little while, you become family. And there's been deaths, there's been kids who have left and I still talk to all the time. whether it's one's transitioning to whatever they want to be, whether it's, one's going through a family death and he doesn't know what to do, they're still my kids. I still love them and I'm
Oh
still
yeah.
here for them. And I think that gets lost a lot in wrestling. It's like, if they're not here, I don't care. And it's like, yeah, cool. But sometimes, sometimes wrestling is just a bunch of weirdos that found a bunch of other weirdos that want to be friends. And sometimes we just need each other, man. And I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
humans in general. We just need each
Mm,
other. And my biggest thing is go places where you're respected and loved and you're wanted there.
mhm,
Don't go places where they're gonna talk shit about you as soon as you leave. If I ever have to worry about that, I'm not going back there. If
mm,
I think you're talking shit about me the moment I leave the locker room, that's somewhere I don't want to be. And I'm okay with
mm.
that either way.
Oh yeah, I'm the same. Like literally, I've had some places that even with the podcast, like doing review shows. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna be that typical review show guy that's gonna be like painting the show as like, oh my god, it was the best thing I've ever seen. I'm like, I am gonna give the good. I'll talk about it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, the what the fuck. I'll talk about
Hmm.
all of it.
Yeah.
But apparently there's been some promotions that didn't really like that. So I was like, okay, then I'm just not gonna talk about you anymore. And I
Yeah,
just
that's
leave it at
that's
that.
wrestling, brother. That's wrestling.
Oh
That's
yeah,
wrestling.
that it is. I've come to learn that very quick. But hey, I'm getting to talk to people all over the damn country. I've I literally talked with Eric Dillinger right like literally immediately after a match that I
Oh,
was
that's
watching on
cool.
IWTV. He had asked for
That's
like
cool.
a little bit of time because his match hadn't happened yet. And then I remembered, oh, that's on IWTV. I'm gonna go watch. And then boom, literally went right in. And I thought that I hadn't had too many firsts left for the show. Well, that was one. I hadn't done that before.
There
But
you
yeah,
go.
no, going where you're respected and you don't got to worry about that stuff because, I mean, life's too short to give people like that any of your time.
It is. It is.
All right. Well, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Shawn Carlson. I'm the guy with the orange and black singlet over top the NWA ring with the NWA 76 logo in the back. You can find me on Instagram at Carlson_9245. You can find me on TikTok at Carlson Money if they stop blacking out all my promos because I say I'm gonna kick your ass or Disney or anything else that I say that TikTok bans you for. You can find most of my stuff there. And then yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Ranch Hand. That's one H because Twitter's weird and only has so many things. Carlson. And yeah, follow me there. That's where I do a lot of my wrestling talk and also Facebook, Ranch Hand Carlson or Shawn
Mm.
Carlson. Both of them are up.
Oh,
So
oh yeah. Nope, I'll get all of that in the description. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
my Twitter seems to be more anymore of me live tweeting when I'm watching a wrestling show. That seems
Yeah,
to be all it is anymore.
it's funny. All I talk about is wrestling or stupid stuff, but all my stuff I follow is NASCAR. So I'm a big NASCAR guy, so I just follow all the NASCAR stuff, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
like that. It's been a blessing because sometimes like nothing about anything is in there, and something's going on deep in wrestling, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have nothing to worry about. Like, I know there's some wrestling drama going on right now as we're talking because while we've done this podcast, I've had 5 phone calls from 5 different people. I've had 20 messages with, screenshot photos and everything else. So there is drama going on somewhere in this area
Oh,
of wrestling.
yeah.
And as
I
soon as we
can.
get off, I'll figure it out.
Well, you know what? That is about all I have. So I'll let you go get to that.
Man,
But
thank you
thank
for your time. I
yes,
really appreciate that. Time is something that I feel is a expense that we give up that we don't even know how much we have left. So I appreciate all your time, all your efforts doing this podcast, getting this out for other people to invest into the independent wrestling. I appreciate you so much for that. It's very thankful that somebody like you does this kind of work and does this for us.
yes, yes. Thank you very much for taking the time out because, yes, time is a valuable thing. And, you know, like I said, I like sharing what I'm passionate about with people that are also passionate about the same thing.
Hell yeah, dude.